Hi everybody, it is February 2nd and today is Groundhog Day. So soon we will know when the first day of spring will be, which I'm grateful for because I'm over this winter weather, okay? So today I want to talk about my experience with going 10 plus years of no contact with my toxic parent, okay? So if you have been on this journey with me for a while, I posted a couple of videos a few years ago. I feel like I have a playlist. I will put it at the end of this video so you can click on it and catch up. But my grandmother and my dad basically raised me. I feel like my grandmother was more of an overt narcissist while my dad was a covert narcissist. I definitely was a scapegoat child of my family. Everything that could go wrong, my name was always in it. Like, I just had no peace growing up as a kid, okay? Now I am more of a lost child, okay? Which I'll talk about more in another video because I don't want this video to be too long. So if you are a scapegoat in your family and you are watching this video, hopefully this could help you out. So it has been 10 plus years of no contact and I don't regret it at all. You know, at first people were like, well, you know, you only get one parent. The Bible says honor thy mother and thy father. Like, you can't go no contact with your parents. Like, what kind of person are you? Like, trying to make me feel bad. But what I'm going to say is, put yourself first. Put yourself first. You won't regret it, because I didn't regret it. And then people will guilt trip you. But
what if something happens to your dad? What if he dies and you weren't speaking to him?
But when I was speaking to him, it was constant emotional abuse. In my opinion, you know, I don't regret it at all. But here are 3 things that I've learned to overcome because I went no contact with my narcissist or my toxic dad. Now, my grandmother passed away, so I don't have to deal with that anymore. So one thing I learned was that I am not hard to love. Like, growing up, when you lived in a house where people are very cold and calloused and it's not really a nurturing environment, like, growing up, I had become that person. I was told that I was somewhat indifferent in my personality. I was very distant. People described me as aloof. You know, I become that way because that's how my family members were in my immediate household. And once I started to venture out my household and surround myself with other people, I started to realize that's not life. Like, family is supposed to be loving. They're supposed to be nurturing. And like, they're supposed to embrace you. Anytime I would have anything good happen to me, I would always be met with negative feedback. Someone would start to argue with me. Oh, this is why we don't want to support you, because look at how you're acting. Like, it was just always something. And I'm going to give an example. So I was graduating from college years ago, and I had written my first book years ago, and I was all excited. And at the same time, my grandmother was sickly. She had been sick for a while. My grandmother was a chronic smoker and drinker since she was about 13 years old. So she was suffering from, I believe, cirrhosis of the liver. So my grandma had lung cancer, and so she was in and out of the hospital. So while I'm like happy for these goals that I had set for myself, my cousin goes, well, what about your grandmother? In the middle of me just being happy for me. And I was like, oh yeah, she's in the hospital. I'm not sure, like, I haven't gotten any new updates, so I'm not sure. And she's like, you don't even care, and that's why we don't want to support you. Like, out of nowhere. Like, it's like you see me being happy for my small wins. Well, actually, this is a big goal, graduating college. And writing this book while I was in college, and like, it's like she snatched the rug from underneath me while I was happy for something that I've done for myself to focus on. I'm a bad person because my grandmother is sick, but I'm happy about what's going on with myself. Being around my caregivers, my grandmother and my dad, I was always walking on eggshells around them because there was always something that they had to say that was negative toward me. And so I was always trying to be the best person I could be because I didn't want any negative feedback. So it's like, oh my gosh, I wrote this book, this is something great, I graduated from college. Like, I have to be the best of the best because they're always, it seems like, looking for something to say. And I would ask my grandmother, I feel like you sit around and you just think of things to say to insult me on a daily basis, and then when you see them, you just whip them out. I say that because my grandmother and my aunt used to live in the same house, and my aunt would watch my son, and every time I would go to my aunt's house and I would say, hey grandma, she would just insult me. Oh, your hair looks ugly, you look a mess, your looks tired. It was just always something, and it's just like I was disgusting or something. And so that's why I felt like, damn, I was hard to love. Like, it really made me feel like I had no self-worth. Like, I wasn't worth anything. I had no value. This is how I was treated. Like, I had no value. Like, and so I grew up, and I can remember being an 18-year-old girl, like graduating high school and going to college, and just feeling so lonely. I was a very lonely child. You get what I'm saying? Very lonely a young adult. And I was so lonely. I felt like a lot of my life choices had a lot to do with how I was treated as a child. I had a child when I was 20 years old. And when I think about it now that I'm older, it's because, not because I was like madly in love and I thought, oh my God, this is my Prince Charming, we're gonna live happily ever after. No, I was lonely. I grew up an only child, basically, and I just wanted some family of my own. And I feel like that was the main reason why I had a child at 20 years old. I had the potential to be something much greater, but because I felt lonely and felt like I had no value or self-worth, I made decisions based on how I was feeling. You get what I'm saying? Number two, I let go of perfectionism. Now, when you grow up with a toxic or narcissist parent, perfectionism is something that takes over your world. I can remember being in high school and my friends would be like, why are you always trying to be perfect? Why does everything have to be perfect with you? When I tell you, every hair had to be in place. I had to be fully dressed every time I went outside. I had to speak correctly. Like, this whole idea of perfectionism like overtook my life, because if I wasn't perfect, my caregivers wouldn't like me. And I was talking to my homeboy like a few months ago, and I was like, as a young person, I always had to be perfect, and I was tired of being perfect all the time. And I said this on TikTok. Once I got over perfectionism, I felt like this never-ending self-healing journey that I was going on sort of ended. Because when you're on a self-healing journey, you're constantly trying to better yourself, fix yourself in certain areas. But once I let go of this idea of perfectionism, I felt like the self-healing journey that I was on just like came to a stop. It's like I'm healed. So I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys. Once I let go of this idea of perfectionism, which I believe comes with being a child of a narcissist or a toxic parent, and once I let go of this idea of perfectionism, I stopped self-sabotaging myself. When I tell you the way I self-sabotage myself, because I was constantly always thinking that I wasn't good enough for things, for people, for places, to have nice things, to be in romantic relationships. When I tell you I self-sabotage, like, so I'm an average looking young woman, I would say. However, I have dated the cream of the crop, I would say, in my opinion. I've met really nice men over the years, okay? And now that I'm older and I can reflect back, it's like I'm a single woman now, and it's like, for what? It's not because nobody wanted me or nobody was interested. I never just thought, it's because of my own eternal feelings of always feeling like I wasn't good enough, or why me, or I don't deserve this. And so I would sabotage those opportunities all the time. And even like when I was writing a lot, I would get like calls, people reach out to me, hey, you want to come to this radio interview? Like, when I tell you, like, I have had so many opportunities. Like, when I look back, I could never sit here and be like, I never had opportunity. I never had. I did. Self-sabotaged it all. Number three, I actually learned to speak up for myself more and disengage with people that I just don't feel good around. Now, one thing I was introduced to on my healing journey was you can see my little tab, so you know I was reading. So this is a chakra healing, a beginner's guide. I'm gonna try to put this in my Amazon storefront if it's not already there. This is a beginner's guide to your chakra healing. One thing I learned was that all my chakras were basically, a lot of my chakras were blocked, and so I began meditating more. So if you are someone who really struggles with speaking up for yourself, your throat chakra might be blocked. And so I feel like as a young child, when adults would, like I said, I was a scapegoat of my family, say rude things to me, that throat chakra, it was never blocked. And so I would just ask adults, why are you talking to me like that? Oh, you're talking back, you're being fresh. No, I'm just asking a question. And I feel like being a parent, I would always tell my son, if I say something to you and you think it's left field and it's not right, let me know. And so my son would be like, Mom, you know, I didn't like when you say, of course in a respectful manner, and I would apologize if I'm wrong. I'm not going to tell him, oh, sit down, what I say, girl, stop being grown. That's what happened to me as a kid. I never liked to really be around my dad's girlfriend because I really felt like she didn't treat me right. She wanted the man. Don't be thirsty, ladies. Don't be a pick-me, all right? She was a pick-me times 100. She wanted the man, but she didn't want anything to do with me. And my dad was a single dad. And I will say this about my dad. And it's because my dad probably had the extra money, the resources. But I had a lot of opportunities because my father paid for it. Because he had the resources. And I just feel like she saw that my dad took care of me. And she wanted so badly me to just be gone. And she wanted my dad and her son. And that's it. And my dad would tell me, I only have a problem with her because I'm jealous of her. And I promise you guys, I was never jealous of this woman. There was nothing ever to be jealous about, okay? I had to be around her and I had to be, hi, how are you? I had to be nice to her, even though she was not nice to me. And I could feel in my spirit, we know about vibes, right? That she didn't care for me. I knew it. And she would be like fake and phony around family. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so nice. But around me, she would be very nasty to me. And so I learned that I don't have to be around people that don't make me feel good. I don't have to do that. And so basically, I literally disappeared for like 5 years. My family did not see me for like 5 years. I mean, I fell off the face of the earth for 5 years. In these 5 years, I was reading books, meditating, and I was just unlearning all the things that I was taught about myself, that I was unlovable, I was ugly, I had a smart mouth, all of these things. And I just pulled myself out of this whole family system. I just stepped back from the whole family system. And so I don't know who the scapegoat is now. I don't know who they blaming stuff on now. Finally, one of my cousins, who always has like functions and gatherings at his house, he would text me like invitations, like, hey, we having such and such at the house, come down. I never respond. So one day he hit me up. He was like, Kenya, where you been? Like, no, you need to come down to the house. Like, I want you to come. We talked on the phone for like an hour or whatever. So I said, you know what? I came. And when I tell you, you could tell that I had done the work and I had definitely been through a healing process or a healing journey. Because when I showed up, my family basically had to re-meet me all over again. I wasn't the same Kenya. Was it any smart remarks or any smart comments? None. Nada. Zero. Zilch. Okay? Do you hear me? None. And so I feel like if you are someone who is a part of a toxic family system and you are the scapegoat, pull yourself back. Pull yourself back. Because we only got one life, and this life does not have to be hard. And if you can try to change your circumstances, I definitely would. I'm going to give another book recommendation. You probably can't see it from here, but I'm going to link this in my storefront. This book is called Rejected, Shame, and Blame: Help and Hope for Adults in the Family Scapegoat Role. It's by Rebecca Mandeville. When I tell you, I read this book about 4 years, maybe 2020. When I tell you, my central heat is about to come on, I'm sorry. But when I tell you, this is a short read, about 135 pages. When I read this book, it puts so many things into perspective about my family dynamic, my family system. And it helped me to understand I wasn't crazy. Like, I'm not the problem. I promise you. Get this book for yourself. When I read this book, it put so much into perspective. And now there's so many resources online. Like when I was going through this, there was really no resources online. Like now you have Dr. Remney, I believe that's her name. She runs a whole YouTube channel about narcissist abuse. Then you have Lee Hammond, who started out on TikTok, who has a large platform about narcissist abuse, because he is a narcissist, a diagnosed narcissist. For a long time, I thought I was the one going crazy. It was me. I was constantly having to change my ways, and I had to be nicer, and I had to do this and do that. But really, it had nothing to do with me. It was just my caregivers, and they created this environment where I just became the family scapegoat. That's all I have to say about that. I just wanted to really speak on my journey with being the scapegoat child, and I really feel like I am free. I've restarted my life. This sounds crazy, but so you made it to the end of this video. I hope what I said made sense. I hope this helps somebody out, and I do want to post a video on what it's like just being a lost child at this point, somewhat of a lone wolf. But yeah, with that being said, I want to thank you for coming to kick it with me today, and toodles.